Hi, I'm Elkie Holland from Prospectus IT Recruitment, and I've been joined today by Mark Williams from ETN Training. Mark is with me, and he's a LinkedIn specialist. He gives training courses for recruiters and business development professionals. I believe you've also consulted for myworksearch.co.uk, which is online tools and teaching for job seekers. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I helped to write some of the modules for that, really just showing job seekers how they can best use LinkedIn to help them find a job.
Okay, and also somewhere along the line, you seem to have actually acquired the name Mr. LinkedIn.
Yes, I have somehow. I think that's through my Twitter name, which is Mr._LinkedIn, and it just seems to have stuck since then. But I'm quite happy with that. So.
Okay, well, thank you for joining me today. What I'd like us to go through, thanks, is basically, or to cover, is what LinkedIn is and why it's of use, and also perhaps you could share some tips with us.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Well, I mean, LinkedIn is a social network, of course, but not very social. So the name in itself, social network, is a bit misleading. It falls under that category, but this is a business network site. Okay, this is a site where you can connect with other business people. The site has got 50 million users now. 3 million of those are in the UK. And it's growing at a phenomenal rate. There's somewhere in the region of 2 million people in the world every month are signing up to LinkedIn. In the UK last month alone, there were over 100,000 people signed up. And these are all business people. In fact, LinkedIn say that the average user is 41 years old with 15 years experience and a decision maker in business. So when you think about it like that, there's this great community of business people out there that could potentially be really helpful and useful to us. So the mechanism is relatively straightforward, really. You find people on LinkedIn, or they find you, starting with people that you know well probably to start with, and you simply connect with them. In doing so, their connections, and indeed those people's connections, become part of your network, which really means that they're visible to you on LinkedIn. So in essence, what happens is you connect with someone, and then you start looking at who they're connected to and see whether there's someone in there that you want to connect to, and that's how you develop your network. Lots of different uses that could be to you, but I train people like recruiters, I train people in business development roles, and sometimes, people who aren't specifically in a business development role, but part of their role is to be able to reach out to the wider business community. And obviously in that, you've also got job seekers as well, as we've already mentioned, because it can be a very good tool for them. And how they actually use it is about raising their profile, is about finding people to connect with, to then start conversations with as a potential client, perhaps, or even just from a research purpose. So, somebody who's going into a key meeting with a client, or even an interview, perhaps, with someone, and wants to prepare, they can look them up on LinkedIn, look at their backgrounds, find out where they used to work, and see whether there's anybody that that used to work with them. And other people within the organisation, and do you know them, or do you know people that know them, etc., etc. Quite recently, I met a sales guy, and he had a big meeting with a key client or potential client. Before that meeting, he went onto LinkedIn and he looked the guy up, and he found him, and he also saw on there one of the applications allows you to show people what book you read, and he saw this particular contact was reading a book, so he went out and bought the book. Read it cover to cover, and then of course when he went to see the client, strangely enough, this book came up in conversation, which really helped develop rapport and allowed them to get on better, and the meeting went significantly better as a result of that. So it's just a small example, but you can use LinkedIn very effectively for research purposes as well.
Okay, so your top 3 usages would be research.
Well, no, I would say, research, finding clients, and general networking. I mean, the point with networking is it can lead to all sorts of opportunities. The more you reach out to other people in business, the more other opportunities will come as a result of that.
Okay. Now, I believe that one of the things that you are an advocate of is actually having a very good profile. could you perhaps share a few tips, maybe 3, to what would help someone have a good profile as opposed to just a profile on LinkedIn?
Yeah. No, profile is very important. I think overall, though, in terms of your whole usage of LinkedIn, I think my 3 top tips would be join lots of groups, because they're a great way of building your visibility on LinkedIn, and they're very useful as well. Build your network, and I've already mentioned that, but keep always building a network. Every time you connect with someone, look at who they're connected to and connect to those people. And then thirdly, get recommendations. People, depending on what you're trying to get out of it, but if you were looking for a job, for instance, people will be influenced by your recommendations, what other people write about you. But the key point with recommendations is they have to be genuine. You do see some recommendations that aren't. It's absolutely critical that they're genuine. In terms of the profile is important because when people find you, you want to make sure they're impressed with what they see. But also, importantly, they need to find you. So the first tip I would say would be get your headlines, the first bit that people see. Get your headline right. And what I mean by right is don't just put a job title in there. A lot of people don't know what to put in their headline. If you've got 125 characters, it needs to be a good impact statement. I.e., this is what I do and this is what I'm offering. Okay. So a good headline's very important. In addition to that, a picture. Now, a lot of people are a bit reticent about putting their picture on their profile. Either that or they go to the other extreme and they use a silly picture, which is more Facebook than LinkedIn, really. It needs to be a good professional headshot, and the reason it needs to be there is that when you reach out to people, they need to be able to recognise who you are. When you ask to connect with someone, on the invite will be your picture. And believe me, people recognise people far more visually than they do by name. Okay, so having your picture is quite important. Also, LinkedIn say that picture profiles get viewed 40% more than ones that don't have a picture. So that's important. And then the other thing is to aim for this 100%. When you start a profile, LinkedIn tell you what % complete you are. And you need 3 recommendations, which I've already mentioned, but you need 3 recommendations to get to 100%. You need your picture in your profile. But you also need a full profile, so no gaps in your employment. Everything in your background is relevant. Education, where you've worked, etc., etc. Because, as I've already mentioned, people use LinkedIn to check people out. So they want to be able to see what they've got in common with you, therefore it's relevant. So they're my 3 tips. I mean, actually, I've got one more, if that's okay. In terms of people finding you, make sure that the copy of your profile, so the information you put in there, has the right keywords in there.
Okay.
So that's the words that people would use if they were searching for somebody like you. And if you've got enough of those words in, then you'll come up high on the search results.
Okay. So basically, thank you very much for those. To summarise, you would say basically LinkedIn is something worth investing your time in to do. And your 3 from the notes here, 3 good tips for usage would be the groups, networking, and also getting recommendations so people can check out and find out some substance about you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Building the network, joining groups, and getting recommendations. They're probably your 3 most important things on LinkedIn.
Okay. And then also your profile tips would be an impact headline, a picture, professional picture, and completing your profile 100%. And also, very importantly, the keywords throughout your profile rather than in one specific area. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, there is an area called specialties, which is a good area to put lots of keywords because that section doesn't have to make a lot of sense. But throughout your profile, everything you type in, not recommendations because someone else has typed that, they don't count, but everything else in your profile is keyword sensitive. So just bear in mind, it needs to make sense, obviously, but make sure the right words are in there.
Okay. So really get on LinkedIn and get building.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing your insight with us and your knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you.